Good morning or good afternoon, depending on when you're going to be viewing this. I just wanted to go through and sort of talk about really what's left of the semester. I know over the last couple of weeks you've been reading the two different plays, Espen's A Doll's House and Gaspell's Trifles. I hope you've enjoyed reading those since you're basically writing your research paper over those. And if you look, the research paper topics have actually been available since modular 11 or week 11. I've just sort of been moving them from one modular to the next. Um, so we're basically, as you can tell in your Blackboard syllabus and course, we're basically modular 14 right now, which is basically week 14. So we really don't have much longer left in the semester. There's really only two assignments. One is this Sunday's research paper, which I hope everybody's been sort of working over and on over the last couple of weeks. That's going to be due, like I said, by 11:59 on the 27th of April, which will be this Sunday. So hopefully you will have looked at those. The topics are right here. Like I said, we can kind of pull them up. You need to go to the college library or a public library, or if you're dual enrollment, if you have a very decent library at your high school, you might be able to use some of the books and journal articles there. Definitely, I mean, you're going to be using the Galileos and databases that we offer at Coastal Pines Technical College. A lot of the public libraries also have Galileo. Now, they could be limited on their resources and what they have, depending on your public library. But remember, the guidelines of this paper needs to be 7 to 10 pages in length, or 1750 to 2500 words, and that's not counting the works cited page. So if you're a little short, you're probably going to lose some points depending on how good that paper is. I mean, if you turn something in that's 5 pages, obviously you're short 2 pages, so you're going to be losing points. At the same time, I don't need something that's 13 pages in length either, because really, like I said, I got 4 other classes that are doing research papers, and they're only going to give us a short amount of time to grade all these and get grades in. So if you're going lengthy, you need to cut it. Otherwise, you may be penalized for going too long, which go through the instructions of what sources you need. You really need to have 6 scholarly sources, which that's to be the secondary sources you would find at the libraries. 3 scholarly books, 3 scholarly journal articles would be suffice. Um, you really need books or journal articles. Now they can be e-journal articles or ebooks. That's fine. I don't need a whole lot of websites. If you're using websites and you're not following the instructions as it's been listed here, I just need the scholarly books and the scholarly journal articles. So don't give me a whole bunch of websites. Otherwise, you're going to be losing some points there. These are your 5 topics. I think there's 5 or 6. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Um, and the other 2 sources will be coming from the primary sources, which would be the 2 plays. And if you decide to use, remember last week y'all watched the film version. If you plan on using some information from the film, you can do that too. Now, keep in mind when you're doing in-text citation for drama and for film, it's a little different. So if you're unsure about how to do it for film, please let me know before Sunday so I can show you how to do that if you plan on using some of the film. Otherwise, because you're going to be basically documenting prose writing for your books and your journal articles, basically the stuff that how you would cite a short story, how you cited the information that you should have had at least a 6 to 8 page research paper that you wrote for 1101, where you should have had at least 6 sources there, if not more. So when it comes to drama, again, I have a handout that I've been moving from week 11, modular 11 to this modular. So some of y'all have been looking at that when it came to the last 2 discussion questions. Some of y'all, I guess, haven't because y'all lost some points because you really wasn't doing the citing correctly. And again, this handout's been out there for nearly a month now. So just go through this, read this, look at the notes, look how to set up stuff, the works cited. If you're using a works cited generator, that should be helpful to you. But go through this. It's very brief. You may find some stuff in your OER, your textbook too, that will be beneficial. What are some other things? Let me see. Let's see. Oh, final exam. You do have some stuff in here you might want to look at. These weekly videos. Again, this is another video that shows you how to cite poetry, song lyrics, and plays. This talks a little bit about plagiarism, which you don't want to do. We may briefly look at this real quick.
Hello all, welcome back to I Love PhD. In this video, we are going to explore the 10 important types of plagiarism that every academic writer should know before writing a thesis or manuscript. Please watch the video till the end to get the complete detail. Also, don't forget to subscribe I Love PhD for more research related information. Let's get into the video. Plagiarism is the most common issue that every academic writer faces while writing their research paper or dissertation. This plagiarism is defined by a deliberate or reckless representation of another's word, thoughts, or ideas as one's without attribution in the connection with the submission of an academic work. The famous plagiarism checking tool Turnitin classifying this plagiarism into 10 major types. Let's check the first type of plagiarism. Cloning is the first type of plagiarism, which is also called identical copying. In this, one person copies another work word by word without any change and claim that work as its own work. So usually this happens when one person does not want to have a work on his own, but instead choose to use another's work and submit as its own work. As long as the first work had already submitted, this second work will automatically detected by the plagiarism tool. Let's check the second one. The second type of plagiarism is the remix plagiarism. In this, one person collects information from various sources and mix all together as a single document. Then the person claims that work as its own work. This usually happens when persons source phrases from different sources then combine them to make a sentence or a paragraph. It simply means taking the written work from many sources and carefully combining that all the works, aligning them to make sense with the paragraph. From distance look, such work usually appear to be a professional and high quality until it is red flagged by the plagiarism tools. Let's check the third plagiarism type. The third type of plagiarism is called Ctrl+C plagiarism. It's simply called copying plagiarism. It happens when in the written document a significant portion of a text copied from any single source without any alteration, then it is called a Ctrl+C kind of plagiarism. This copy plagiarism is a type of plagiarism that happens when the person's work contains a large portion of text from a single source. This is called Ctrl+C plagiarism. Let's check the fourth one. Hybrid plagiarism is the fourth type of plagiarism, which happens when perfectly cited sources, documents are copied and arranged as a new document without citation. It usually occurs when one person combines perfectly cited sources with the copied passages without citation. It is a plagiarism that occurs due to the improper in-text citation. In most cases, this plagiarism occurs in a properly written body of work, but poor referencing. So this type of plagiarism is called hybrid plagiarism, and we'll check the fifth one. In the find and replace plagiarism, one person changing the most common keywords and phrases in the copied content and not making any changes in the essential document. This kind of plagiarism happens when one person changes the keywords and phrases and retain the essential content of the sources. A person who practices this kind of plagiarism is often believes that they can easily deceive the softwares by simply changing the keyword. But unfortunately, some advanced plagiarism tools will easily identify this kind of plagiarisms. Let's check the sixth kind of plagiarism. The sixth type of plagiarism is called recycle plagiarism. In this, it refers to act of borrowing one's own previous documents without proper citation. It's called lack of citation problem. This recycling plagiarism is a type of plagiarism that takes place when one person borrows heavily from previous person's work without putting proper citation. In the mashup type of plagiarism, a person will mix material content copied from multiple sources, and it simply shows that the student has done some research but has decided not to write the borrowed information. This mashup plagiarism appears in different colors when you take a report from the plagiarism tools. Let's check the eighth type of plagiarism. The eighth type of plagiarism is 404 error plagiarism. In this, a person creates a document by copying from various sources and prepares as a single document with the citation. But if the citation is inaccurate or it will lead to non-existing sources, then it will be called 404 type of plagiarism. So the plagiarism tools also verify whether all the cited documents are properly redirecting to the particular content. If it fails, then 404 error will be flagged by the plagiarism tools. Let's check the ninth type of plagiarism. In the aggregated type of plagiarism, the written document includes all the proper citation, but it does not contain original work. It is also related to 404 error plagiarism when a person takes a fake work but includes proper citation. If a person work with this cooked citation is often related to as a plagiarism and a form of academic cheating. Let's check the final type of plagiarism. The last and 10th type of plagiarism is called retweet plagiarism. In this, all the written document seems perfect with properly cited mark, but still the document resembles somewhere the original text structure or wording, then it is called a retweet plagiarism. That's all about the 10 types of plagiarism. Hope this information will help you to improve your academic writing. Like and share this video. Also, don't
Okay, so you see the 10 different types of plagiarism out there. You want to be careful of that. Also, the AI writing, you want to be careful that you are not getting involved with the AI stuff. You want to be wary about if you do use it, that you're not necessarily copying and pasting verbatim. There's certain ways that I mean, you can kind of cert AI. There's certain ways to do it. The problem with that, though, I mean, if you're totally using AI and you see citations of AI throughout the whole paper, then that's just kind of telling the audience, the reader, the grader, that you really didn't go out and do any of the research. You're just letting some kind of program that you don't even know if it's correct or not. Because I will tell you, a lot of times these AI programs, they can't write a proper research paper at the college level. It looks proper, but a lot of times what they do is they give you sources and citations that are fake, don't exist. They just put them out there just to show you how it looks. And a lot of times students don't go back and read, what it's written. And that's why it's very easy to detect. So I would avoid using that, especially, I mean, if you're going to go through the work, if you went through the work, you should be able to write your own research paper. This is not the first one you've probably written, especially at a sophomore level college. This is a sophomore level college English class. You had to have written and hopefully passed one back in 1101. And if you're 11th, 12th grade, possibly 10th, high school, you probably written at least one research paper for those grade levels. This is something that you can kind of use AI detector. There's a lot of them out there. This one actually has a built-in plagiarism checker. I would use this stuff. Let's see if I'm just going to do something here. If it'll let me. Probably won't. I'm probably going to have to go find something here. Yeah, here it is. So again, it's going through looking at certain grammar that I check. So I'm going to see, I'm looking at AI detector here real quick. See what it does. Because this is basically transcript. When I'm talking, it's giving the transcript of my lecture here. So you would assume that this is going to be, and it says 90, sometimes these can be kind of tricky. This says 4, even though this is what I just was speaking to you. Let's see about plagiarism, because this is really crazy that the lecture that I'm giving to you is being flagged as AI, because I just basically copied and paste the words that are going up on the transcript here, which are my words. They're verbalized, they're not typed, but they're my words that I'm copying and pasting. So let's see, this thing is loading, and we're going to check for plagiarism, see what it does. It does anything. Session expired. Let's try it again. Sometimes you got to refresh these. And I would see, like I said, just because it showed, I would go through a couple of these plagiarism checkers. I'd go through a couple of the AIs, just because sometimes they do give false positives. I usually try to go through a good bit of them. If I, suspect something that looks really AI, meaning I've seen your writing kind of, and this is just not want to work. Let's see if I go through it again. Let me try this. We'll come back to this. I'm just going in AI detector. And you can do writing detector. You can do a couple other things. So here's Zero GPT. This is pretty good. Again, I'm taking the early thing that I did voice-wise, and I'm going to run it through. And see, this actually works. It's saying, it's highlighting it's human text because I basically spoke it. Let me see. There's a couple other ones. This one's a really good one because it really it goes, it checks up about 9 or 10 different AIs, I believe, give or take. And let's see. I'm just going to say essay. Let's go with that. And then I'm going to check for AI. And again, green 99%, which that's what you want to see, especially since I'm verbalizing it. It says 1% AI, which they probably all would say that 1%. I don't know why. But the green checks what you want to look. You want to see the green, not the red or the orange. You want to have, instead of 1% human, not 99% AI, you don't want to have that. So I would go through and, definitely online plagiarism checkers too. Let's see. I'm going to try to go back to that one I was just at. Oh, this one was it. Let's see if I can do this again. Now, some of them, just because they're free, doesn't mean they're the best in the world. You know how that goes with free subscriptions and all that stuff. So if you, if you're going to have to be writing in other classes, you may want to invest in a, subscription at some point. But if you're not, some of these free ones should work. I know we do have Safe Assign that you should be, after you upload your paper, you should be able to refresh or at least go back in the, 10, 15 minutes to check. It may take a little longer depending on how long your paper is. Of course, that's not going to be too helpful if you wait until 20 minutes before the paper is due this Sunday. But again, on this one, again, you want to have 0% unique. Safe Assign usually wants you to have between 0 and 10. Most turning in handouts right now are saying anything between like 0 and 20% AI writing, I guess, is acceptable to a degree. Between 0 and 20, just because of the false positives, but anything past that is going to be questionable. So that's why I would suggest that you check your writing before submitting, that you're, between 0 and 10 in plagiarism, and I guess between the 0 and 20% of the AI. I would, definitely, you'd probably just want to have a document that's clean of both plagiarism and AI, because then you won't have to worry about getting the microscope sort of zeroing in on all your work here. The other thing that I put up here was the final exam study guide. And again, if you looked at some of the announcements and emails that I've sent out over the last few weeks, this basically tells you the format. It's going to be short answer. You're probably going to only need, 1 to 2 complete sentences per question. 5 questions are going to come from a Doll's House play or that film, or the other 5 questions will come from the Gaspell play Trifles and that film version. So I will open this up starting at midnight, or it'll open itself up starting midnight, May 1st, and it will go up into the last day of our final exam, which would be Wednesday, May 7th. It needs to be in by 6 o'clock. I will not reopen it any later because Wednesday is the last day. 6 o'clock p.m. is when it needs to be in. Don't email me at 6:30 and say that you forgot when I gave you basically a week to do it. So what I would suggest is if you're already sort of going over this study guide, because if you can do this study guide, you should be able to do the particular fill in the blank exam that I'm going to provide. Because most everything on the study guide will appear as a potential question in the exam. So if you know your plays, you watch those videos, you go over the study guide, and you should have no problems with the exam. Again, 10 short answers, 5 come from Espen's play, the other 5 come from the Gaspell play. You will have 75 minutes once you start. It's not a respondus exam, but you do have 75 minutes, meaning you're in control of your own time. So if you need to get up and go to the bathroom, or get up and go to eat, or whatever the case may be, just know that whenever you hit start, you got 75 minutes to complete it. Once your time limit expires, that's it. So make sure that you save your answers and save often, because again, if you submit something and there's no answers there, I can't help you at that point because you've already seen the exam. I can't jeopardize that. Hey, you're gonna email me and say I don't know what happened, but you're sitting there with your phone taking pictures of the questions. So I mean, if you submit the exam, there's nothing there, but I can go back and see how long you basically sit there or opened it up and had it running. If it says 60 minutes, then I'm gonna know something's up, right? So you're not gonna have any chance to retake it. So just make sure that you're ready when you hit start, that you can actually sit down and complete it within a 75-minute period. It may not take you the full 75 minutes. It all depends on how fast you can read, how fast you can type, and how well you know the 2 plays as it relates to the questions that I'm asking you. It shouldn't be too terribly difficult. I mean, it will be difficult if you didn't do the reading, right? If you didn't do so well in the research paper, which is going to be due the days before. If you didn't watch the videos, if you haven't really done anything, week 11, week 12, week 13, this week, next week. So yeah, it's going to be difficult if you didn't do anything. Didn't turn any previous discussion board, assignments, that type deal. But I mean, if you've been studying all along, you've been asking questions, then it shouldn't be too terribly bad, I hope. But you're going to have to prepare for it because you're just not going to be able to go in there, and it's not a multiple choice test. It's not a true false. You're going to have to at least type 1 or 2 sentences. And I would say be as brief as you can with your answers. Don't get, overly lengthy with it. Just whatever it's asking you to answer it in 1 or 2 sentences. Let's see. Research paper final exam. The Dropbox here is in modular 15. I went ahead and opened that up. If you don't have to wait the Sunday to submit your research paper. So if you look here too, let me see what we got here. It might be a couple videos. This might be helpful when it comes to quoting, summarizing, and paraphrasing. Usually this is really going toward, summarizing or quoting or paraphrasing your 6 scholarly sources. If you need a review sort of from like 1101 English, you might want to go through and watch this video. I will warn you, the video is about 30 minutes. So you might want to, skim around to the part that you're really going to need. And then again, once I have the exam open, you're just going to be able to click here and go below, and it will show the exam. It will open up after Thursday the 1st. Just to give you kind of a hint, it looks sort of like this, or it will look like this. You're going to have to download the file. So here's that deal. When you get to this portion, you're going to have a file here. Download it to your Microsoft Word, and then while you answer the questions, make sure that you highlight, use the highlighter feature in Microsoft Word or boldface, whatever you need to do to let me know that, hey, this is your answer for that particular question. Save the document, and then save your Microsoft Word with your answers, and then upload it back to this particular area, because it's going to let you drop it here. But keep in mind, once you download it, that's the 75 minutes starts. So kind of keep that in mind. They may have a little timer up here as it gets, 5 minutes too, but you might want to just keep in mind of your time here. The other thing is to be able to, I say password, but they actually changed that around a little bit. To be able to get into the actual exam, there's going to be an access code. And I'm going to have to provide you with that access code as it gets closer to May 1st. And it may be different. I may change it up different for different days, just to sort of curb cheating, that type stuff. So kind of keep that in mind. I probably will change it. Each day there will be a new sort of access code. And I will show you where you can go get it. Or I email it out and just say, hey, this is going to last for about a 24-hour period. And then, I'm going to go back and change it. And of course, that'll be a lot of emails, I guess, sending back and forth. I'll kind of make up my mind with that. Or, do I want to just keep one access code, or do I want to have a couple of them going on? But you'll know, I will send an email, because you're not going to be able to get into the actual exam until you punch in that code. All right. So that's pretty much all that we have left. We have research paper due again Sunday. We have the final exam that's going to need to be due by 6 o'clock on May 7th. Again, with the final exam, once you feel ready, you don't have to wait until May 7th to complete it. You can, if you feel ready on May 2nd to do it, go ahead and do it and be done with the course, right? Because those are the, really, these are the last two grades that are left. So if you look at the current grade book, whatever it says as your overall grade or your weighted total, that is what you have going into the last two assignments. If you did extra credit, remember the extra credit really, I kind of put a closed window on that, was technically Sunday, April 20th. So if you've already done the extra credit, again, I sent out lists via email and announcements. If you already did that, I went ahead and applied that to whatever grades you needed it to go to. So there's no more extra credit left in the course. We just don't have time. You can't make up an assignment that you needed to do last month or 2 months ago. We don't have time. So if you have a 0 on something, the 0 is going to stay. If you didn't do any of the extra credit, oh well, I gave y'all nearly 2 months to get that in. So really the only, again, last two assignments, one's due on the 27th, research paper. It needs to be in there by 11:59. Just because they're going to probably want grades from us by May 8th, close of business, which would be about 6 o'clock. So I got a lot of research papers and exams I'm going to have to be looking at over the next couple weeks. So really, as the policy states, I'm not going to take any late work, right, of any kind. If it's not in there on the 27th by the deadline, 0. I'm not going to entertain it. Don't care about the excuse. You've had weeks to get this in. Same thing with the final exam. I'm not going to open it up at 8 o'clock on Wednesday when the thing was due, 2 hours on the 7th. You have, once it opens up on May 1st, you're going to have nearly 1 week to get it in. Again, not going to hear all the excuses of why you couldn't do it. We're adults here. Get it in before or by the timeline. You won't have nothing to worry about. Don't get it in before the deadline. Just know that you're going to have that forever zero. Not hunting you down, not asking for it if it's past the deadline. You either get it in, you don't. It's your grade, not mine. So kind of think of it that way. Last time I'm going to be looking at rough drafts for research papers is going to be by midnight this Friday, the 25th. If you turn something in on the 26th and say, hey, can I look at that? I would just suggest that you use tutor.com, because pretty much I'm getting caught up with some grades in my 1101 class. They had to do an annotated bibliography on their research paper. So once I get that done, I'm basically going to be research paper grading mode, final exam grading mode. I gave them the same sort of deadline with rough drafts on their research paper, 25th by midnight. Again, if you can't get it in by then, use tutor.com. I would suggest that you email me as a Microsoft Word attachment your draft if you want me to look at it. Again, that's optional. If you feel like you're going to run out of time and not send me a draft, at least let tutor.com look at it. At least have somebody look at it, make sure that you're kind of going the right direction. Tutor.com, like I said, is free. That would be probably a good resource. If you know somebody outside that's really good with reading and writing papers, research papers, that is, college level papers, you might have their eyes look at yours particular work to make sure you're going in the right direction, because this is a big chunk of your grade. I believe it's like 23, 24%. I got to double check. It's enough that, let's just say, if you plagiarized or used AI and got busted, made a zero on it, it will probably bring you down at least 2 letter grades, maybe more. So that's nearly 20 points. It's one that you can't really afford to have a zero on. So you definitely want to turn something in. Obviously you want to follow instructions. If I say 7 pages, that's the minimum. Maximum will be 10. If I say use 6 sources plus your 2 plays, that's going to have a works cited page that should have 8 sources on it. So if you turn in a paper that, is 3 pages and only has 3 sources, obviously your grade is going to be fairly low. May not be a 0, but it probably ain't going to be an 85 either. So sort of kind of keep that in mind, right? We're a sophomore level English course here. This isn't, 12th grade English at, Glenn Academy or Brunswick High or whatever the case may be. The work is a little bit more substantive. You got to put a little bit more into it to get the grade, right? Not everybody's going to earn an A. Not everybody's going to earn a B. Those things kind of take a little bit of time and a little effort. Anybody could probably get a C. It's very easy to get a D, and anybody can do an F, right? Just don't do anything. Don't turn anything in. So with that in mind, I hope you had a great Easter. I had to go up to Macon for a conference, so my Easter was kind of cut short because I had to leave Sunday afternoon. I just got back yesterday afternoon, so I've been on the road for the last couple of days, trying to get readjusted and get stuff kind of back in order on my end as it relates to the grading and stuff. So if you look, we got today's the 22nd. Next week's the 29th. So that would be a full week, basically. So we got, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We basically have about 15 days, give or take, left in the semester. 15 days to knock out the final exam. 15 days to knock out the research paper. Well, the research paper is due on the 27th. But you get the gist here. That's the only thing we got left to do, those 2 assignments in 15 days. And then afterwards, for some of y'all, you might be getting ready for the summer semester. If you haven't talked to your advisor or the person that signed you up for spring and fall, you might want, and you plan on going into summer semester, you probably want to do that before we end this semester, just so you're not having to either pay extra, avoid, busy phone lines and busy, people lining up to be basically in that particular class. I believe our summer semester starts on the 19th of May, which is a Monday. Keep in mind, summer semesters are only 10 weeks long, so they're roughly about a month or 2 months and 2 weeks in length. They go by a little bit faster. And if you're in person, the classes are generally a little bit longer. So instead of maybe like a 2 day a week for 75 minutes, you may be two days a week for 100 minutes, or whatever the case may be, depending on where you're going and what the class is. So sort of keep that in mind. Again, let me know if I can be any assistance as we move through these next 2 weeks. And I wish everybody good luck on the research paper and the final exam. And overall, I hope your spring semester ends very well on your end and that you pass all your classes the first time around. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here and get back to some of this grading I got to do. But you have a good day. Thanks.